Hello Libra, thank you very much for tuning into your general read. For the main part of the read, I'm using the Libra Tarot by Renata Lechner. For the supportive oracle cards, the magical spell cards by Lucy Cavendish. There we go. Already shuffled. Let's see what we got. That's it. That doesn't seem like a lot of cards, but let's see what happens from it. Just because there's not a lot of cards doesn't mean a lot of information won't come through. It seems really simple. Alright, we'll find out. The situation you're coming into. You got the Empress card. And it feels like it's in the action line to me. I feel like this whole reading is about what's happening. It's not really giving your side or the other side. It's just giving what's actually happening. And I feel like it's how you're going to deal with it as you see it come forward. Because the situation coming in with the Empress is like there's a collective feel here. Like everybody's looking out for the total view, the total picture. It's not about like one farm or two farms. It's about the whole community, the whole county. How's this affecting everybody? It's one of those type feels. And I'm getting that there's working together, but there's questions about what's the longevity here? What's working? What's not working? Does this process need to be changed? Does that need to be changed? Is this work-related? Because it feels, for a lot of you, it is. Because it feels like this is kind of like people getting together, and you're a part of this, deciding if what's going on is right, or if things need to be changed, what's succeeding, what's not succeeding. Because there's like a concern that the situation might be headed for like a bad moment if what's going on isn't kind of looked at a little closer to make sure what's good is kept and what's not good is changed. Because that's how you're coming into this. You're a part of this. I feel like you're a part of a group with this. And it's just really trying to make sure that things are going to work out. Now that the Empress is moving into the High Priestess. Both very powerful cards. But this is going from looking out for everybody, what's happening, what do we need to see, what is good, what is not so good that needs to be changed. Now this is the next level, saying, alright, this is what's good, this is what's not so good that needs to be changed, but some of this that's not so good, how does that connect into what is good? Like, what are these aspects of the things that aren't good? That if we change them, is that going to affect things that are going well? Or what other types of problems could we have by changing these things that aren't the best? Maybe these things that really seem like they're not good are necessary to make these other things flourish. Because I feel like this is getting a little deep and a little bit, it almost feels very technical to me. Kind of like some of the things that don't seem like they're that great, they're being identified as not so good, that need to be changed. I feel like the afterthought here is, you know what? Maybe those are necessary, and maybe there's benefits from those that we're not seeing directly. It's kind of like making me feel about like the spider situation sometimes. Like I know a lot of people who don't like spiders, but they don't like mosquitoes either, and spiders eat mosquitoes. So it's kind of like it's kind of like looking at it like, oh, there's spiders here. I don't like spiders. I'm gonna get rid of the spiders. But then somebody else is stepping in. Well, if you get rid of all the spiders, you're going to have a lot of mosquitoes because they eat the mosquitoes. And it's kind of like, oh, but I really don't like the spiders, but I really don't like the mosquitoes either. Is this like a necessary evil type thing? Not that spiders are evil, of course. But it's just kind of like people sometimes are just kind of like skeeved out by them. And they're just kind of like, I really want to get rid of them. And you're like, well, if I get rid of them, does that mean I'm going to have to deal with this other problem that much more? Like, what is this problem keeping in check? That type of feel. And I'm getting this seems to be, this is not easy. I don't feel this is easy because I feel you're a big part of this part, especially trying to see things for what they really are. I feel like you might be even one of those people pointing out, like, yeah, that doesn't look so great, but if you get rid of it, this is what you could end up with because of getting rid of that. And I feel like this makes things more difficult because I feel like people are still like, if we're using the same analogy, I don't really like spiders. Can we get rid of the spiders and maybe get some citronella candles, or can we get some other some other way to control the insects that they eat. And I feel like there's a lot of talk going back and forth, saying, you know, the pros and cons of changing things. And like, for example, if you got rid of spiders and you do these other things to, like citronella candles and stuff like that, to circumvent the situation, and then you're like, well, spiders are self-sustaining. They'll live and breed and do what they got to do. You don't have to really tend to them. But if we do citronella candles or some of these other things, we're going to have to invest the money in that, and we're going to have to make sure that they get done. Like, that's going to get done, and that's going to get taken care of. We're going to have to take control of that. And if we fall back on that, we're going to have this influx of bugs that we don't want. So I feel like this is going on for a while. I feel like this is going on. I feel like you're going back and forth with it yourself, because I feel like you're even kind of getting one over every now and then, like, oh, okay, that could be a good idea. Then you're like, oh, wait, but then we have to do this, and that's going to cost money, or this is going to cause this other drawback. There's a lot going on here. Again, I feel like you're a part of this. Now, there seems to be a point here, because I feel like there's something that this is going to affect you with, because we're only halfway through. Well, 6 minutes and we're halfway through. Yeah, well, even though there's not a lot of cards, there's a lot of information coming in. The next card that comes in is the Temperance. I feel like there's a lot of things that are not changing. And I feel like this is becoming a waiting game. How long before people just let it go and move on from it? I feel like that's what's happening next. Because there's very minimal result going on here. It just feels like there's very minimal result, and I feel like it's starting to turn into a waiting game. Really, I'm getting that there's minimal result here. There's not a lot changing here, not a lot at all. But I feel like this might be more about addressing people and letting people speak what they want to speak, but then trying to kind of divert the attention, or just kind of like, all right, you had your piece, you had your moment to say what you needed to say, but that's as far as this is going. I don't feel a lot of changes coming from this. And the Temperance makes me feel like it's like waiting it out. Just waiting people out, waiting for people just to like back off and leave the situation alone. And I feel like that's not bad. I don't feel like that's bad. I feel like what this ultimately is going to be, and I'm noticing the cards connected, and I'm going to show you this first, but there's good cards connected to it. The Six of Swords is just kind of letting it be, moving on from it. It is what it is, and that's fine. And I don't feel a lot of changes. I really don't feel a lot of changes. But I'm also seeing the abundance here, like the way that things are going. I feel like it's been kind of fortified, like it's been sustained this far. It looks like it will continue to sustain itself. And I feel like there's not a lot of changes here. And I feel like you're thinking that's a good thing. I feel like it does seem like it's a good thing, too. I don't feel like it's a bad thing. We addressed it, we looked at it, we know what's going on there, but I feel like ultimately you're thinking to yourself, this is best to not change it. Just let it be and let it flourish on its own. It's been successful this far, let it continue to be successful. The thing is, you got this psychic protection right here too. I feel like you might have to avoid or like kind of block certain things. I feel like people are getting upset because there are certain people here who have their own agendas, and they want things to change, they want this, they want that. Like, for example, if we're going to use that spider situation again, there's people who really want to get rid of those spiders. But I feel like it was ultimately decided that it would cost too much for what it would take to make that same situation continue the same benefits of having the spiders. Just letting the spiders go and leaving them alone, even though they may be unsightly to some people and they may not like them, they serve a good purpose, and they need to be allowed to just live the way they're living because they serve a greater purpose. And I feel like there's people who still are not on board with that. I know I'm using the spiders as the analogy, but that's kind of like, because some people are just really skeeved out by spiders and they're really agitated by that. And I feel like that's what you're coming up against. That's kind of why that analogy is being used, to let you know how much resistance you're getting on that. The psychic protection is saying you might have to find a way to block some of this influence, you know, making sure this just nothing really changes yet, you know, shutting people down or kind of like pushing them off is what I'm getting. I'm getting kind of like you know, I don't have time right now, but I can talk to you so and so, or let me get back to you tomorrow and I'll let you know when I can talk with you again, because I feel like you're going to have to kind of push people off. I don't know how that sounds to you, if that's okay or not, but I feel like you're just kind of like pushing them off, and it's more of this temperance, it's more of this waiting game, because ultimately you're moving on from it. But I feel like this temperance is fading in and out. Like I feel like you constantly have to push people back. You're going to get stuck in conversations here and there anyway. But I don't feel a lot changing here, and I feel like you might be on the same page. It does feel like you're on the same page, where it's just best not to change these things and just walking away from it and letting it be. And I feel like there's people who don't feel the same way, and they keep coming towards you, but you just kind of, you have to keep dealing with that and keep pushing them back until finally they just kind of, you know, go blue in the face and pass out and leave you alone. Is that how this is ending? Because it feels like that's how this is ending. I feel like if you know that's what's coming, I don't know, I feel like you might be able to enlist other people to help you. And that, what I mean by that is, like, if there's people who are difficult for you to deal with, who are just relentless, finding a way to push them over to someone else to talk to who is more apt to be able to handle that conversation and shut that down and maybe give yourself a little bit of a break, you might be able to push some of this off a little bit. And if you see it coming, I feel like if you keep other people involved at the very least, either if you can't push it off to someone else, if you can include other people in so that there's more people that are backing your side that this person can go to, just so it kind of, you know, gives you some reprieve from the situation. Because I feel like that's a big thing here, because it doesn't feel like a lot's changing here. The biggest part of this reading, the way I'm connecting to it for you, is to see that this is going to be a problem going forward, where people are just going to keep coming at you, and making sure they have other resources to go to, or try to like push them off in different directions so they're not all coming at you and constantly giving you stress. I feel like that's the big point with this. Alright, so I'm going to let that go there. I think we got there. Alright, so thank you for watching. If you'd like a direct reading from me, go ahead and shoot me an email, jamesforastral@gmail.com. That's James, the number 4, astral@gmail.com. Thank you.